start with your general reaction to this move from the Biden administration and what you make of it.
Well, it's strange because if the intention is to boost supply of the vaccines to certain countries, certainly like India and South Africa, putting forth a waiver for IP protection is not going to have any effect in the short run in terms of achieving that goal. And what it has done, as you just noted, has made the pharmaceutical industry quite nervous about what that means.
And we did run a sound from the president of the European Commission earlier, in many ways sounding like she was hedging her bets a little bit. Can you just walk us through what kind of dialogue you anticipate unfolding over the coming days?
Well, I think it's going to, obviously it's all going to take place at the WTO, but I think the dialogue will be, just as we've been discussing, is to what extent is the intent on the part of India and South Africa and some of the other countries who have been pressing for this to open up the broader window about relaxing IP protection. And I don't think that's in anyone's interest, whether it's the United States, whether it's a South African firm, whether it's an Indian firm. When firms make investments in creation of intellectual property, they obviously want to reap their rewards from that in order to make sure that they get their money back for all the R&D expenses that went in to developing that IP protection. So it's really in no one's interest to do a broad relaxation. And I think the market and other people I've listened to are overreacting about that. And my caution would be that let's take one step at a time. Let's see how the WTO under a new director general operates. I don't think it's in her interest either to have the WTO be a place where these kinds of things unravel, and I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Harry, I wonder if this is also a byproduct of such an unprecedented, well, it feels unprecedented to me. Maybe you've got a different opinion. Where take here in Canada, where one of the challenges has been not how much money we can pay for vaccines, but our ability to get our hands on enough vaccine quickly. In the United States, obviously, they've had their hands on a lot of vaccine, and a lot of people immediately looked to the way by which the government had structured arrangements with the drug makers early on, right? Very much a sort of a partnership approach, a lot of money invested in the development side of things. And now here we are, it's a year later, and you've got some countries, rich and poor, that are in a position where, they're struggling to get their hands on vaccine. And you look at the scorecard of how deals were structured, and it does feel just a little bit complicated on what everybody's expectations ultimately are.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people are very nervous because it is a pandemic. But I think, as I said at the very beginning of this conversation, if the issue is to get supplies out the door, relaxing IP protection is months away to get an agreement on that, and then months away in terms of setting up new facilities. If the U.S. really wanted to expand supply to India, to South Africa, and other countries, they could just, through the Defense Production Act and other means, have the pharmaceutical companies who are already producing these vaccines to ramp up supply and ship them over. So that's where I'm very perplexed about what the real intent here is on the part of the White House, because it does not seem the kind of move that one would make if you were really interested in boosting supplies immediately and get vaccines in people's arms. That should be the goal, right?
It's a fascinating development, and I guess we'll see what the Biden administration has to additionally say on it, maybe get some answers to those questions you're curious about. Good to get your perspective, Harry Broadman, chair of the Emerging Markets Practice at Berkeley Research Group and former White House economic and trade official.